brief rundown of the profile of our first speaker. His name is Mr. Constantine Aporo. He is the CEO and founder of Eco Space Foundation, a vegan-based organization driving food system change and promoting veganism in Uganda. He also leads several key advocacy initiatives as the organizer of National Animal Rights Day, NARD, in Uganda, a plant-based treaty campaigner, and an organizer for both We the Free and the Anonymous for the Voiceless Uganda chapter. Please. Okay, please. Our first lecturer, Mr. Constantine, please, if you can hear us, please, the floor is open for you.
Yes, I'm ready. I'm on. Thank you so much for this wonderful opportunity to share. My name is Apollo Constantine, as I have been introduced, from Uganda, Africa, and I have been vegan from 2019, and I've also been very active in creating a kind of world, collaborating widely with different organizations, charities, individuals, and institutions across Uganda and Africa promote a sustainable world. I don't know whether I can be able to share the slides. I have some slides that I just shared, but if it's not possible, I can proceed and present. So it is an honor to speak today, and I will be talking about compassion in action, emphasizing ethical living for a peaceful world. As we all know, we cannot talk about peace when we are not living in harmony with others. We cannot talk about sustainability when we are not in harmony with nature or even people around us. That's why it is very, very important as we talk about compassion today to reflect on our actions and how we relate with people around us, with animals, with nature, and all beings around us. Because every being and every resource around us, around the environment, around the planet, is part of the ecosystem. So the way we treat all beings around us is very important and actually defines how we can either create a kinder world or a world that is cruel or failed. So it is very, very important to always embrace empathy, to embrace love for one another, embrace compassion, which simply means relating with the pain of others, and always mirroring. Like before you hurt your friend, try to think about how do they feel when you hurt them? How would you feel if someone hurt you? So if we have that kind of a culture and spirit, it means we can be able to create an empathetic world, a world that is peaceful, a world of harmony, a world of generosity, a world of peace, and all-around sustainability. So this presentation today will focus on highlighting the ethical living and relationship between humans, animals, and nature, emphasizing the interconnectedness of all beings, because we are not an island in this world. We are all interdependent on one another. We depend on the forests, we depend on the rivers, we depend on the food that we plant, we depend on animals one way or the other, and we have to observe and respect that fact. That if we don't respect all the species and all people and resources around us, then it means we are destroying the planet. I'll proceed and define key terminologies like compassion. Compassion simply means the ability to empathize with the suffering of others, taking action to elevate suffering. Take an example of animals. You could choose to relate with the suffering of animals, the pain that animals go through, the cruelty in the factory farms, in the slaughterhouses, in the game reserves, animals that are poached. You can choose to relate on how fish suffers and wild and aquatic animals in the oceans, in the rivers that are affected with mass pollution. You can look at how your fellow human beings suffer when they undergo less of insecurity, when they are attacked, when they are abused. If you have ability to empathize, to feel pain for others, to relate and feel sorry for them, but also try to treat them better, it means you are a compassionate person. And this is what we all need to do. If we are thinking of creating a kinder and a peaceful world, then we have to be able to relate with the suffering and pain of others. That is the only way we can relate and support one another to build a peaceful world, a sustainable world that is good for everyone, for our children, for our brothers, for our posterity. 100 years to come, 200 years to come, our grandchildren and posterity should be able to relate and reflect on history that we lived in a world that was compassionate, that we treated one another with peace and kindness. I'd also like to define ethical living, which simply means making choices that reflect good moral conduct and considering the impact on the environment, animals, and society. If you are an ethical person, it means you care about your practices, how you relate with the environment. You care about pollution. You don't litter plastics. You care about choosing regenerative practices and tools. You could care about, planting sustainable foods. You care about planting trees. You care about the clothes you put on, what you put on your table, the food you eat. You care about not killing animals and having venom on your plate. You care about choosing sustainable, plant-based, and healthy options. If you're doing that, to me, you are ethical. And that is what we all have to do. If you are thinking of living in a sustainable world, if you are thinking of living in a peaceful world, if you are thinking of living in a world that will have food security, then it means we have to be ethical because all choices that we make directly affect our health, the environment, and even the animals. Imagine you are really supporting the animal agriculture industry that highly contributes to pollution because of the chemicals that they use on animals. Animal agriculture also contributes heavily on deforestation. It also contributes heavily on depletion of water because raising simply just a kilogram of meat requires 25,000 gallons of water. This is not efficient, it is not effective, and cannot guarantee sustainability. So if you're thinking about ethical living, then you have to choose choices that are friendly to the environment, to your health, and even animals. And then finally, let me define harmony with nature. If you are that person that is thinking of living peacefully with nature, then it means you have to recognize the role of every species within the ecosystem and understanding that all our actions directly affect the environment that we live in. Imagine research shows that by 2050, if we continue with mass pollution and destruction of the planet, we shall have fishless oceans. We shall have most of the aquatic animals destroyed by 2050. Now, what does this mean? It means our actions are endangering that the livelihood of other species. And if we destroy the oceans, the rivers, because of mass pollution, it means by 2050 we shall have challenges with water, we shall have challenges with food, we shall have challenges with a failed and a cruel environment. So compassion simply means living in harmony with one another and making sure that our actions are not hurting any person at all. And as we proceed, let me highlight why it is very important to live an ethical life. One of the very first reasons is the environment impact. When you choose approaches or practices that are friendly to the environment, it means you are guaranteeing a sustainable environment. Imagine you chose to plant trees. Imagine you chose to practice sustainable agriculture, like mulching. Imagine you chose to eat plant-based foods that are good for the environment. And imagine you joined, let's say, non-profit organizations, supported this kind of initiatives, like a conference that is happening today, to preach kindness, to preach sustainability. It means you'll be working alongside different like-minded individuals to promote sustainability and an environment that is good for us, the animals, and even the future generations. So yes, ethical living is important because it guarantees environmental impact that is good for us. Secondly, animal rights. You need to live ethically because when you live a life that is ethical, you will be promoting animal rights. When you choose to keep animals off your plates, when you choose to embrace food system change, diet change, instead of looking at animals as commodities or as food, we should look at animals as our friends, as sentient beings that feel fear, emotions, and pain, and rather make choices that are sustainable. Because animals don't have another option, they don't have another life. They only have one life. But humans have a lot of options. That's why we have to respect animals and keep them off their plates, respect them in totality, and make sure that they are happy, they have freedom just like you and me. And then eventually, sexual responsibility. As humans, God gave us a lot of knowledge. God gave us courage to protect all these other things. So it is our social responsibility to make sure that we protect all the innocent sentient beings. It is our responsibility to make sure that we conserve the environment we live in, the planet that we live in. It is our responsibility to protect the oceans, the rivers. It is our responsibility to plant trees. It is our responsibility to make sure that we have food security, food that is healthy, food that is good for our environment and also for the animals. And finally, we should also look at the global perspective. The world is getting destroyed because of unethical living. We've seen a lot of wars, we've seen a lot of conflict, we've seen a lot of global cruelty, we've seen a lot of wildfires in Europe, in the US, a lot of bushfires, a lot of lives being destroyed. We've seen floods, and all these are happening at a global scale because of animal agriculture, because of denial to live an ethical life. That's why animal agriculture is affecting the whole world. So this is a global issue. If you chose to live, let's say, a sustainable life in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Uganda, in Tanzania, it means we shall be building a sustainable continent. And as I almost wind up, let me highlight why it is very important to live in harmony with all beings. Why is it very important? One of the very first issues is the interconnectedness. Humans are interconnected to all beings, to the animals, to the oceans, the environment, and all beings altogether. So it is very important to live in harmony with our neighbors, with all the people, all species that occupy the planet Earth with us. Because every action that you take directly either affects animals, the oceans, the planet, or even the forests. So it is very important to respect all species, support one another, and live in harmony. Secondly, cultural understanding. Embracing diverse cultures and perspectives encourages compassion and promotes coexistence, aiding in the creation of peaceful communities. We all live in an interconnected world. You could be in Europe, you could be in Africa, you could be in Asia, you could be wherever you are, but we are all interconnected with different cultures and we are united by one thing. We are all sentient beings and we are all humans and we all deserve to live happily with compassion, with a healthy life and a sustainable life. And then mindful consumption. It is very, very important as we talk about harmony, peace, and working along with one another. We should be mindful of what we eat. What gets on your plate? Are you choosing plant-based options that are sustainable and healthy? Or are you choosing animal products? Research shows that consuming animal products is highly detrimental to our health, raising high cases of heart-related complications, obesity, inflammations, cancer, stroke, and a lot of complications. But most importantly, consuming animal products directly affects the planet with the mass pollution, scarcity of water, deforestation, and all that. So when you choose plant-based options, it means you're contributing to a kind of world, a sustainable world. You're choosing to eat food that is healthy for the soul, for the animals, and for the planet. And lastly, community engagement. It's very, very important as we move forward, as we talk about peace, as we talk about compassion, as we talk about empathy, always participate in community engagements, in activities like this wonderful conference that has been organized today. It's always very, very important to connect with like-minded individuals. You could volunteer with a non-profit organization. You could volunteer with the church. You could volunteer with the government. You could volunteer with any entity and make sure that you're contributing to a sustainable world and make sure that you're doing something to make the world a better place. Because that is what we have to do anyway. We have to make sure that we are doing something that is making the world a better place. Because 10, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, our great or grandchildren will be happy in a world that is peaceful, a world that we participated in to create, that enhances harmony. And finally, as I complete, I'd like to highlight one of the initiatives that I am part of, and maybe some of you could be interested to join, the plant-based treaty. This is a global movement that is working along to promote food system change, to promote sustainability at a global scale. promoting harmony, promoting peaceful coexistence, promoting food security, and ensuring that the world is working along towards food security, towards food system change, towards a sustainable world. If you'd like to participate in this kind of initiative, I'll share details with the organizers. And we're always happy as EcoSpace Foundation to collaborate in this kind of programs and initiatives to support and share in any way possible. Thank you so much, our dear hosts and organizers, for the opportunity to speak today. I am very, very grateful, and I bring you greetings from Uganda, Africa, and I wish you a happy holidays. I wish you a peaceful Merry Christmas and a happy 2026. Thanks so much for the opportunity to share. I am so much grateful. Thank you.